So my friend left a couple hours ago, and I think he thought he was coming over to help me shoot this project that I'm working on. And it wound up being just a big conversation about me avoiding doing just this. And so I got emotional. So if my eyes are red, it's because of that. Um, I have a lot to say, but I haven't figured out the way how to say it. And he just said, I've known you. He was one of my first photographers in the state, a good friend of mine. And he said, you can do this. You can do this. Just look at some of the other videos that are out there. Look at, he goes, I watch some of the ones that are unusual because they're so unusual and they captivate and they tell a story of some sort. And I said, but I don't know how. And he said, just talk. So I'm just starting the conversation. I'm Sue Reed, and only 2 times in my life I've had an extraordinary voice tell me to do something, and it was at the worst times of my life. And the first one led to the birth of my son when, well, someday we'll get into that, what I did. But, so that was one, and then the second part of my life, the second chapter, was when I was guided to do a show. And I agonized over that and have been agonizing over that for the last, since it was told to me about 4 years ago before my parents died. And so I guess this is the beginning. And my story is about overcoming sexual abuse from people that I loved. And it began very early in infancy. So I never really knew who I was. And my whole life was shrouded in an identity that I had no idea. I lived as somebody else until 52 when I finally got broken down, and the agony of what was going on with caring for my parents as they were going downhill was taking its toll, and so things started coming unglued, and I crashed and burned, and I joined wrestling at 52. I wanted to figure out who I was, and all the things that I wanted to do when I was young, I couldn't do. So this is the conversation. A lot of it has to do with spiritual, metaphysical stuff, because the only two things I had as a child was kind of like a inner knowing. We call that empathic, I think. And an inner knowing that even though things were going to get really rough, and I didn't want to be here most of the time. Before I had my son, I wanted to die. I tried twice to end it. First when I was like 16, or first when I was a little younger than that, and then shortly thereafterwards. And there was so much chaos in the household. No matter what I said, it didn't matter. It was all my fault. So I grew up not being able to speak, not being able to vocalize what I had to say, and I'd get tripped over it. And in a room full of people, I would slink away to the corners. Unless I was advocating for someone, then my voice was loud and clear. And so this is the beginning. And I'm going to keep it short now because I do have a lot to say, and this is really hard for me. But because of his pep talk today, I decided it was time. And I'm sorry I look away a lot. He said, keep looking into the camera. But I am shy. And I know some people don't think that because I've done some kind of like in your face sort of stuff. But usually when I do those things, it's because I'm trying so hard to figure out who I am and to push the boundaries to be stronger and stronger, coming from the shadows, coming from how I grew up in a shattered environment, having to hide all the time and think I was like nothing. And a lot of other things. So the things I've learned, I'd like to share, and those people who are going through it or have gone through it, I hope we can make connections and talk about it. And when I was guided to do the show, it was a couple of things. It is about um, the spiritual connection. Yes, that's a big part of it because that's how I survived, even when I didn't think I was going to. There was always that little nagging voice that said, there's a reason for all of this. There's a reason. Hang on, hang on. Um, and there's about the part about talking with others who need that voice, like I didn't have until now, and I'm forcing myself to have this voice. Um, and it's about the creative process, which they say everything I've read, written, and just know in my heart is, dare I say, God energy. I'm always so cautious to say the words because I don't want to drive anybody away But then I said, you know what? It's what worked for me. So if that's a crime, then I'm not sorry. So, um, yeah. So maybe you can keep tuning in. And as I get stronger and stronger and more courageous, you'll see how this evolves. I'm sitting in the room where I'm building the little backdrop for the show, and a lot of people already know it's in the works and so forth, but this was the first step. He said, my friend, you don't need a lot of people, you just need to just talk. So for you, John, I'm just talking, and I'm going to do it. I hope. I will. I will. So thank you for tuning in, and I will keep reaching inside and try to get it out. And I know if there's other people out there that need this information, then it'll all be worth it. So, again, my name is Sue Reed, and I'll be tuning in again. So look for me and get in touch with me. I know I'll have some information soon, so we can talk. And thank you.